Hello, and welcome back to the Management and Leadership channel. Today's video, we're going to talk about leader and follower dynamics. I've got 2 or 3 slides. We'll just do a deep dive into that. The main goal of today is to just understand the variables that influence leadership effectiveness. It's not just the personal traits of the leader or the characteristics of the leader or the experiences of the leader. The situational dynamics, as well as the dynamics that come involved with the follower, they all play equal weight in overall leadership effectiveness or lack thereof. First slide we're going to discuss here. So this is the LSA model. And what I did with this particular model today is I wanted to include the actual power distribution that leaders use, and then how this model interacts with the 5 different powers that managers use, as well as tactics that managers can use to influence followers and the situation. So it's kind of a busy slide, but let me just walk you through it. So if you just look at the leader-follower situation, you can see equally they're weighted. And if you're looking at the leader and follower relationship, in this particular example, you can see the leader has expert power and the follower has reverent power. And if you remember, the reverent power is the interpersonal relationships between the two. So there's a dynamic of what type of relationship do the two have, and then what type of expert are they in that particular discussion that they may be having. And if you look at the situation itself, an example of what powers can be used there is a situation might have legitimate power. For example, if it's raining outside, you can't stop it from raining, so it has legitimate power. Conversely, the leader has legitimate power over a situation as well. A leader can walk over and turn a light switch off. So the leader has legitimate power to turn the light switch off, which then changes the situation. And these are very simple examples, but I think you get the point. The other thing that a leader can do, he can use or she can use reward power or coercive power towards a particular situation. So coercive power towards a situation might be to lock it down, get rid of a process, contain a particular quality issue. So he's using legitimate power as well as coercive power to stop a particular situation. Or she might say to one of her employees, I'm going to offer a reward for good behavior. So again, these are different types of powers that leaders can use in the leader-follower situation dynamics. So let's take a look at some of the types of influences that leaders can use. The first one is rational persuasion, and I'll give you an example. Rational persuasion is like a logical argument or factual evidence. So you may approach one of your employees, you're asking them to do something, and you use rational persuasion by using a logical argument. Hey, we need to get this done because if we do, A, B, and C will happen, and then you'll get Z, which you're wanting. So that would be a rational persuasion example. Another type of influential tactic would be inspirational appeal. And that would be something like arousing enthusiasm or emotion in one of your employees to get them to do something. So maybe if you know there's certain things that they're passionate about, maybe you mention that to them, or you put it in context to where it aligns with one of their passions. So you can use inspirational appeal as well. The next one is consultation. I like consultation because what you're basically doing is you're going to the employee and you're including them as a stakeholder and saying, hey, I have this issue that I'm working on. Would you participate in this and offer some sort of feedback? So you're going to them and asking them to consult you. And that is a really, really effective technique to get employee buy-in. The next one is ingratiation, which is basically trying to get someone into a good mood. So you might bring an employee in for their performance review, and you make sure if it's going to be a difficult discussion that the door is open, that the windows might be open as well, and that it's a little bit larger conference room so that the employee doesn't feel trapped. That's just an example. But at the end of the day, you can set the mood and set the tone before any discussion that you have with one of your employees. And ingratiation would be a great way to put the employee at ease before the discussion. The next one is personal appeal. And that would be something like doing a favor for someone. Hey, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. So that would be a personal appeal. The next one is exchange. And this would be an exchange for something. So personal appeal is you do this for me and I'll do this for you. Exchange would be if I come in and work late on the weekends, then I'm going to get time and a half, or I'm going to get overtime. So that would be an exchange that you're having with the employee to try to get whatever you need done accomplished. The next one is a coalition tactic. This works really well as well. And what you're doing here is you're trying to add support from others to influence the actual target that you're trying to get. So if you're having a discussion with an employee, you can go to, say, the lead, or maybe their supervisor, or maybe someone that they work with. Try to establish a coalition with them before you go and talk to the employee, or before you go into the meeting that you're going to have with your team. Get a coalition. Sometimes it's easier to have somebody there with you to support you before all the questions come. So having a coalition tactic is an excellent, excellent option for influencing the situation and the follower as well. Pressure tactics. These are threats or persistent reminders. I would definitely caution using this too much. It's going to backfire on you, but pressure tactics can work in terms of projects and meeting tight deadlines. You just got to be consistent with it, but the pressure that you use can't be a pressure that targets the other person in a personal way. So I would not use pressure tactics unless it's a safety or a quality issue in which time is of the essence. The last way that managers and leaders can influence followers in the situation is legitimizing tactics. And that would be to request based on position or authority. So for example, if I go to one of my employees and I'm talking with them about a particular project that we need to get done, and I need some people to come in extra over the weekend or whatever that might be, and I start to get some pushback. At the end of the day, I have legitimate power as a manager, and I don't have to say this in a pressure tactic way, but I can just say, at the end of the day, I appreciate your feedback, but we've got to get this project done. So I'm going to have to go ahead and implement A, B, and C so that we can accomplish this task. As your manager, I have this authority, et cetera, et cetera. So legitimizing power is another way that you could influence. All right, let's look at the next slide. This is the leader exchange model. Okay, so the leader-member exchange model is based on transactional leadership. So transactional leadership is something that is focused more on the interpersonal relationships. It focuses on managing by exception, only taking action when problems occur. Contingent reward behavior goes into play with that as well. So the manager is only taking action when some exception activity occurs or an escalation occurs, then the manager steps in, leader steps in, and tries to work with the member to get something done. The other way that the leader would manage in this way is if the employee is doing something good, then they would reward. So this type of transactional management is what leadership exchange theory is all about. And it's all about trying to strengthen that interpersonal relationship by establishing credibility, trust, and focusing on workplace fairness. Problem with transactional leadership and this particular theory is that it points out the fact that if you only focus on the interpersonal relations and you only focus on trust and credibility and getting your employees to like you, then you're going to end up developing some unfairness in your leadership style. There's going to be inevitably certain employees that you relate with more than others. And if you're only focused on interpersonal relationships, you're going to find yourself having favoritism towards those employees. And then the ones that are not favorable to you, you're not going to spend as much time with, you're not going to support as much. And so then this unfavoritism occurs and you have in groups and out groups, and then it becomes a mess. So one of the things that you can do to negate this from happening is if you're going to use, or if you're in a business or an industry to where transactional leadership is heavily, heavily leveraged, there's nothing wrong with that. But what we ask is that you try to embed transformational leadership into your portfolio of leadership style as well. And transformational leadership is then going to balance you out a little bit. And it's going to allow you to focus more on articulating vision, planning, fostering acceptance in the entire group. So it reminds you not just the in group, but to focus on the entire group, communicating high-performing expectations. So again, transactional leadership, you might not be as aggressive in your goals because you're trying to maintain that relationship, a friendship or interpersonal relationship that's positive. And sometimes you've got to communicate high expectations. Well, transformational leadership, it gives you this quality and ability to then communicate very aggressive goals without damaging the personal relationship, because that's not your main focus anyway. It also allows you to provide intellectual stimulation because you're a little bit separated from the interpersonal side, and you can then engage at all times, not just when there's an escalation. So leader-member exchange theory, nothing wrong with that. But again, we ask that you would add transformational leadership to that just to balance it out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, we were talking about the dynamics between managers and followers, and the two models that we discussed today were the leadership, the LFS model, the leadership follower situation model, and then the leader member exchange theory.